Yeah, I was like, I'm going to forget about that, and you're going to charge me in 6 months.
You're speaking to one of the biggest friction points. The crazy customer support inbound that comes from customers not being set up for success in terms of self-servicing their subscription. A lot of brands don't even have sort of a pause button and cancel button, and the only way that you can actually change your subscription is by getting in touch or calling them on the phone, which is really crazy.
Hello and welcome back to the DTC Deep Dive. My name is Fraser, and this week we're going to be speaking about subscriptions. Should you be using one for your store? If you are, how should you do it? Is your store even right for subscription? A lot of these questions you've probably asked yourself or others in the past. Well, you're finally going to get some answers to that because I'm sitting down with co-founders of Prive, Claudia and Alex, and they talk through the best ways to implement subscription. How can you make sure that it's a flawless experience for your customer? All your questions will be answered in this episode. Claudia, Alex, welcome to the DTC Deep Dive. It's our first time that we've had two guests on at the same time, so I'm really excited. Hopefully you guys are as well. So you are both co-founders, both CEOs of Prive, which is a brand that helps DTC brands with subscription, right? So if people don't know who you are, they don't know what you do, introduce yourselves and how you help brands with, I think, arguably the most important part of growing a DTC brand.
Well, first off, thank you so much for having both of us. We're so excited to be here for this conversation, talking about a topic we're both very passionate about. I guess, in short, you're very much correct. We enable subscriptions for direct-to-consumer businesses. So we're kind of the tech platform that underpins creating a subscription, the storefront component so that your customers can go in, select and configure the subscription they want to purchase. We handle all of the end-to-end comms and, more importantly as well, where you go in to log in and manage your subscription. So kind of the end-to-end life cycle of getting a product on a recurring basis. We work with brands that have kind of the standard subscribe and save model, but we also go a step beyond that, unlocking kind of membership, prepaid subscriptions, gifting, replenishment, a bunch of other subscription plus models. And I think that's very much to your point, exactly where brands can really grow, focus on retention, and get the most out of their customers.
I love that. Yeah. So where did the idea and the reason for Prive come from? Because there are other subscription methods and you can do it yourself as well, custom. So what was the reason? Why do you guys exist?
Alex, I think you should take this one.
Yeah, I can give it a shot. Claudia and I were product managers before starting Prive at Uber. So we worked on various core sides of the business, helping launch products with an awesome team of engineers, designers, kind of corralling the team. And one of the things that we did launch at Uber was in the subscription space, was the Uber's membership product. And so we had seen how incredibly useful it is to have a tech-enabled platform that really understands how valuable your customers are and how to incentivize them to perform specific actions. In this case, for Uber, it was to take trips, but for the rest of DTC is to provide them with a subscription offering that fits into their life and incentivizes them to become recurring customers. And we are thinking of what existed out there and realized that there wasn't kind of that Apple of the version of subscriptions where it was all end-to-end, easy plug-in to set up and to configure, and takes you throughout the whole life cycle, as Claudia mentioned, from the storefront purchasing experience, the management experience, all the way to dealing with some of the nasty stuff of subscriptions like payment failures and retention and churn and so on and so forth. And so we really took kind of a holistic approach with our team from Uber of ex-engineers and product managers and designers, and really built an offering that our customers are calling kind of the Apple of subscriptions.
I think the other thing I'll add is we, in the early phases of building Prive, spoke to so many brands, whether they be, mid-market businesses on Shopify or fully custom off-platform enterprise businesses doing $300 million in revenue. And the consistent feedback was, yeah, we can kind of get subscriptions up and running, but it's a multi-month planning process. Yeah. It's hundreds of thousands of dollars potentially in customizations. And from our perspective, subscriptions is a price lever. It's a retention lever. It didn't have to be a full business model that you needed to stand up. And so really the question we asked ourselves was, how might we enable subscription subscriptions in minutes for brands. Like this doesn't have to be something that's that crazy.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. And one of my main questions that I thought of when I knew that you guys were coming on was, what makes a good subscription? Because I've spoken to so many brands on and off the podcast that have subscriptions or are looking to start subscriptions. And the main thing that maybe their main issue is, I don't know how I can turn my product into a subscription. Like, will it be a good subscription, or will it feel like I've just jammed a subscription in there to make more money for my customer, right? And I'm sure we've all been on brands' websites where the subscription definitely does not need to be there. Like, this is like a one-time purchase product, but they're asking me to buy it on a monthly basis. So what
was it a dishwasher, Fraser?
Yeah, this is what I mean. Like, I'm not going to lie, I have seen like stuff like that before, or like dishwasher tablets where I'm getting 500 in a pack and they're asking me to buy it monthly. There's not even that many days in a month, right? So what makes a good subscription, both from a product side and also like what makes a good subscription work technology-wise as well?
I think you're very much right. Like, there are a lot of brands that are force-fitting, delivery every 30 days for 10% off, and it's really cookie cutter. It doesn't make sense for the product. But I think more brands than you think can incorporate some kind of subscription, whether it be schedule your next order, send a gift, prepay, like a membership access. All of these are different flavors of subscriptions. And so I think one of the biggest issues is when brands just sort of take a default, okay, we'll set up a 30-day delivery option or a 60-day delivery option without understanding the natural usage patterns of their products. And so part of really what we're excited about is helping unlock subscription revenue for more brands than you would historically think. But it's important that the subscription set up properly. And so by that, I mean, okay, if you are selling diapers, then you should probably be renewing based on the number of diapers that are being sent to you and how frequently your baby wears them. And there probably should be an easy way for you to size up. And then when your baby grows up, you need bigger and bigger diapers. And so there's multiple variables that a good subscription needs to account for. You shouldn't be getting product that is outdated or doesn't fit where you are today on a cadence that's incorrect. So one, figuring out the cadence. Two, figuring out the type of offer. Doesn't always have to be a discount. Maybe you're enabling a membership to unlock access. Maybe you're offering more flexibility by offering prepayment. Maybe you're unlocking gifting. There's so many other levers. And then I think the other key thing that most brands get wrong is it's really freaking hard to manage a subscription unless you have an easy way to log in without a password, and you can easily just sort of change the cadence, change the discounts, change various configurations with respect to the subscription to make it work for your lifestyle.
One of the things that we found out when we launched our customer portal was that we tended to provide a lot more functionality than I think we initially thought our customers would find useful. So things like Claudia that mentioned, swapping, changing cadence, pausing, and doing things that kind of potentially extend the life cycle of the subscription. And we found that people were actually not canceling anymore. And we really thought through it and said, well, why are people not canceling? Well, why were they canceling to begin with? Well, they were canceling exactly for the reason that they had too much product in their closet, for example, too much coffee beans, and they hadn't gotten a chance to use it, or they didn't like a specific flavor, for example. And so what we found is that by giving them this ability to do all these actions, they were actually doing actions that were extending their lifetime with that brand, as opposed to canceling. Before, they would have to cancel, and then they would maybe get into a new subscription, but they would have such high friction canceling that they probably had a sour taste in their mouth about this relationship. And so we've really, I think, cracked something that's incredibly useful to the end shopper, and that is to be able to say, hey, actually, I'm going to pause now because I'm going on a trip, or I actually didn't like this flavor. I was going to cancel, but you know what? Let me browse and see what else they have. Maybe I can swap it to something else. And so I think that makes a lot of sense for a lot of our brands.
I think like the TLDR is like, if you have a strong segment of repeat purchasers, then you can probably make subscriptions work. If you don't, like mattresses, dishwashers, these durable goods, probably doesn't make sense. And like some examples that are a little outside of the box that we've seen and we support is like a bicycle rental business or a home garden growing business where you're getting soil every 6 months. We're even working with an apparel brand where you can schedule your next bra, right? So I think there's a lot of different ways to make recurring revenue work. It just probably isn't in that subscribe and save, get it every 2 weeks model.
Yeah, it's weird because I had the best and worst experience. I don't sign up to many subscriptions. Saying that though, if it's got anything to do with entertainment, like I have Netflix, Disney Plus, every single, and of course I'm the one that pays them while everyone else uses them. But I normally don't subscribe to stuff, but I did subscribe to a men's underwear subscription thing because I'm one of those people that just never buys this stuff, and then I'm like, oh no, all of my underwear has holes in, I can't wear them anymore. And so I signed up to one, and then they had the ability to pause it. Like I had loads of pairs, so I was like, oh well, I'll just pause it for like 2 months or whatever. And then it came to 2 months and I was like, you know what, I don't think I need it, I'm going to cancel it. And it was the worst experience to cancel it ever, and it just completely put me off ever using that brand again. And it's weird how, because that pause thing was something that I'd never seen before, and I was like, wow, this is amazing. I can just pause my subscription and pick it up again. But then cancelling it was the hardest thing ever, and it was a complete turn off. So it is surprising how just the experience change can completely change the way that you interact with a business, like entirely. And you mentioned there about like the digital subscriptions. I actually subscribe to a few like YouTubers who enable you to get more access to stuff, kind of like a Patreon thing, but like their own. And I think that for creators is the way to leverage your audience and get so much more out of your audience, is by building a platform. There's some creators called Corridor Digital, and they have this incredible like app and website, which is like their own YouTube. You pay £3 a month and you're in there and you can do everything. But it's just such an easy way to get in and get more content. Like you can just think of plenty of ways to do a subscription that doesn't necessarily need to be, we send you something every month, right? Yep. One of the other big questions that I always see people ask is, what's the best way to encourage that subscription? Because like you said before, there's the discount encourage, right? It's save 10%, subscribe. But for some people, that might mean that it kind of cheapens their products. Like they have a set price that they have to sell for, you know, because of brand equity or whatever reason. So what are the best ways that you've seen implemented for getting people on that subscription method?
Yeah, I think there's a few high-level points. One, having an easy entry point that's easy to understand and gets rid of any FUD. Like, I think what you're saying about having bad experiences with subscription, really assuaging concerns on whether this was actually going to be an easy experience or not is key. I've had the worst subscription experiences of my life where I was getting vitamins sent to a college dorm room for like 2 years, and I checked my credit card. It took me 6 months to cancel the subscription. That was part of like the customer empathy I had building this business. But on the storefront or on the entry point, making it super clear what the controls you're going to have, making it really clear how frequently you're subscribing. Will you be able to change it? Is there a passwordless login? Do you have to reach out to support? Sort of establishing that relationship up front, I think, is really important. Then you mentioned discounts. That's also a great way to incentivize purchases. But what a lot of folks miss out on is that they think, okay, 15% off, 20% off, it's going to ruin the brand. But they're not thinking about the incrementality of that discount. It's not just about, you know, giving someone a discount, they're going to not pay as much for the product, and that's it. You're encouraging net new purchases that are incremental that wouldn't have happened otherwise if they were not on subscription. And so if you look at the LTV of the customer that's on a subscription basis, it's so much higher than the discounts you're giving away that ultimately it is growing the business. And so the one thing we always ask our customers is, let's think a little bit more about the incrementality. Let's not get hung up on the discount. The other piece is, you know, segmenting your customers and marketing the subscription to them. I think a lot of brands don't take a look at customers that have purchased 6 or 7 times in the past and really pushing them towards subscription, making it clear all the benefits they're going to get, whether it's free shipping, whether it's access to, you know, an exclusive event, whether it's, you know, better pricing on just one-time add-ons. I think there's a lot of education that can be more tailored towards customer segments that are naturally better fit to be a subscriber.
Yeah, I think it boils down to kind of a few models, and one of them is the subscribe and save model that you've mentioned. The whole idea behind it is you are able to provide a discount as a business, assuming that you would like to, because you are going to be recuperating that cost over the life cycle of that
Mhm.
subscription. So it's a net positive kind of incentive that you're offering. And then the other model is kind of the more membership model that unlocks different things for you. So for someone that's really conscious about not providing discounts for brand equity reasons, as you've mentioned, or other reasons, you can have it so that similar to the YouTuber folks, provide access to things that you would not normally have access to. So again, it comes back to how do you want to set up your membership model and what it is that will drive adoption for it. And so through Prive, incentives, pricing and incentives has been something that we really took dearly to heart, given that both Claudia and I came from the marketplace team at Uber, where incentives were incredibly important in helping shape supply and demand and move the marketplace in ways that was optimal for both riders and drivers. And similarly, when it comes to building your subscriptions business, you are always going to have to acquire new customers and retain them. And so it's a matter of what is the best lever or tool that is the most efficient for that job. And subscriptions has been proven out time and time again to be an incredibly efficient pricing and incentives lever.
Yeah, that's really interesting actually about you guys working in Uber in the past, because that's one subscription. I think I get some Uber thing with having Amazon Prime. I think something's kind of in there somewhere that I get some kind of discount or something. But I'm not someone that uses Uber a lot. And I'm not someone that uses like food delivery services a lot. I think it's a little bit different. Like you guys in the US order everything to your door. Like it's food delivery constantly. We're cooking every night at our house. But like, how was implementing a subscription service for something like Uber must be really difficult, right? Because people are in that kind of framework that, well, I'll just use it when I need it. So how do you turn those customers into people that want to pay for a subscription when they're not used to paying for a subscription for something like Uber?
Yeah, I think it came down to, and it's been some time since I've been on that team, but mostly came down to understanding what additional benefits you could provide, similar to how brands are would like to provide additional benefits to their customers. And one of the additional benefits was kind of preferential pricing for specific routes, for example, and deeper discounts to reward you for your loyalty. Now, that was a more commoditized business to some extent, and that's certainly not the case for a lot of DTC businesses where brand is king, and that is the bread and butter of their business to some extent. And so that was one of the main differences, and kind of where the parallels stop between what transportation businesses are building or food delivery businesses are building versus what we're seeing with the incredible businesses that we serve now in the DTC space.
Yeah, what would you say are the biggest friction points for brands when they're looking to start a subscription? It might be a technical, friction point. It could be something product based. What are those top ones, and how have you seen brands deal with them?
Oh, so great that you asked that. The technical friction point is the one that we started the company to eliminate. If you're not launching your subscriptions business because there's technical issues, then that means we are not doing our job properly. Or, I think where it comes down to is for smaller businesses, they knew that they wanted to have an additional revenue stream, and technical issues were kind of the implementation, the storefront setup, the thinking through how to platformize this, stitching all the pieces together. That was a massive pain point for them. For larger businesses, oftentimes they seem to be hung up on the policy decisions or the business decisions with regards to what kind of model are we going to implement, what will be released in the press if we do launch this, describing, hey, this is another company that's launching subscriptions, for example. What is the cool thing about this? And so we help companies different stages with different problems. The one common thread across all of this is that we try to take the pain away from it being a technical decision to it being even very small business decision, as we have all sorts of models that are kind of plug and play, and you can start and get onboarded and trial. That's the other piece around kind of the way we do subscriptions, is we want to make sure that everyone can start experimenting with subscriptions. And by the fact that it is incredibly easy to set up, that takes a bit of the pain away from having to think through all the edge cases and question everything. You can just say, hey, I'm going to run a test and see how things work out for a month or two, see how many subscribers I get, see how people resonate with a delivery every month, or, for example, a specific discount.
I would say, like, from my perspective, like, after a brand has subscription, so like Alex is chatting through, okay, like a lot of the hurdles and like making the decision happen and getting folks set up. I think there's also quite a few friction points that historically occur once a brand has subscription. And Fraser, I'm curious, when you were telling us about your horrific cancellation experience, what like steps did you go through to try to cancel? Were you emailing the brand? Like what made it so bad?
I feel like it was so I did a pause on it, and then I clicked the cancel button. It was like, are you sure you want to cancel? Are you sure you want to do this? You're going to lose X, Y, Z. I was like, yeah, I'm pretty sure I want to cancel. I clicked the cancellation button, and then I'm sure they put me back on pause. We're like, oh well, okay, well, just in case, we've put you on pause for 6 months. And I was like, whoa. I don't want to. I'm going to forget about that. Yeah, I was like, I'm going to forget about that, and you're going to charge me in 6 months.
Yeah, and so I think you're speaking to one of the biggest friction points. The crazy customer support inbound that comes from customers not being set up for success in terms of self-servicing their subscription. A lot of brands don't even have sort of a pause button and cancel button. And the only way that you can actually change your subscription is by getting in touch or like calling them on the phone, which is really crazy. But like there should be an easy way for you to not even have to remember a password, for you to be able to cancel when you want to cancel. Like there's none of this trickeries, and just really being upfront with the customer about what's going on. And so I think that's one big thing, managing the crazy support inbound and making sure the infrastructure is in place so that you, Fraser, can cancel when you want to cancel. And then I think the two other key friction points is, one, brands not having the right structure and cadence attached to their subscription. That leads to churn. I think a lot of brands are like, we want to push our products as frequently as possible. But at the end of the day, like if you're getting so much product, you're going to cancel. It's better to get subscribers to get the product on a quarterly basis or every 6 months, or how frequently they're actually using the product, so they're not realizing, hey, I have this stockpile of product. I don't need this. I hate this. I'm going to cancel.
Yeah.
And then I think the other big piece is brands just don't often have access to data to understand what the heck's going on. Like businesses should be understanding LTV, incrementality, what the churn is. And I think there's been a dearth of data for brands to really leverage to make smarter decisions on how to improve their subscription business moving forward. So I think like those are probably the three things that I see most commonly once brands have a subscription and they're starting to face challenges.
Yeah, I think it can be sometimes just to understand your customer, sometimes just as simple as reading the reviews that people are leaving. Like you can see the common problems that people are having, whether that's with, canceling a subscription or whatever. If it's a problem which is coming up all the time in reviews and people are giving you 2-3 star reviews because of that, and go and fix it. It seems so simple, but I think so many brands struggle because they lose that connection with the customer. And then a lot of the time that leads to them completely ignoring the customer. So we talk a lot about canceling subscriptions. What is the thing? We've kind of touched on it there, but what is the most common thing why people cancel their subscription? Is it just that they're just getting too much of stuff? Is it because they don't like the brand anymore? And what can people do to extend the LTV of their customers and not have people canceling after 1 or 2 months after they've grabbed the discount?
I think there's two key reasons that we've seen most consistently. So one, too much product, not the right cadence. People aren't getting the product when they need it. And so they're like, I'm fed up with this. I have a closet full of product. I'm going to cancel. Or I'm not getting it when I need it. Like, this is not working. I'm going to cancel. And so the way to fix that is enabling consumers to be able to dictate the cadence in which they're getting the subscription, when it's getting delivered, what part of the month, so it actually works with their schedule, how they're consuming the product. So that's one piece. The other piece is people not loving the product that they initially subscribed to. And I think a lot of brands are like, okay, like you don't like the product, cancel. But you can probably swap to a different flavor if you didn't like the flavor, or to a different SKU. And so it's better for consumers to be able to swap across all of the different products that you have. And really their subscription is more of just a membership to different products in your inventory, instead of getting the same exact chocolate chip protein bar every single month that someone's invariably going to get sick of. And so one of the biggest things brands can do is offering more products to swap across, more flexibility in terms of what they're actually subscribing to. Because what brands, I think, need to realize is that a customer that's a subscriber probably loves the brand and is willing to try more products versus just defaulting to cancel. They just often don't have the ability to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the other aspect of it is you might think as a brand, oh my gosh, this is a nightmare enabling someone to change the cadence of their relationship and plugging into the inventory system and getting orders to have to fulfill. And I think that has been probably something that's been top of mind for a lot of brands. And there are many different ways to solve that, whether it's anchoring things to specific dates so that your fulfillment service only has to do it once a week, for example, or whether it is setting up kind of better schedules on the fulfillment side. There's many different solutions to this that are platformizable and enabled by tech, so that you don't even have to think about these aspects when you start enabling things for your end consumers that seem to be maybe too customer friendly or paradox of choice, when in reality they're just kind of simple things that you as a consumer, if you were a brand, put yourself in the consumer shoes, would probably like. And so that's another piece that we really enjoy a lot in our team and in our company, is thinking through both sides of the equation, both the consumer and the business. Of course, the brand is who our customer is, and we'll do things that help them be more successful. But in doing so, we need to really think about what the end customer really wants.
Yeah. Do you think there's a scenario where you give a customer too many options and so they're overwhelmed with, like, because I'm sure we've all been in that scenario where we've gone to do something, we've been overwhelmed with the amount of things that we have to fill in and how many options we have to tick, and we've just gone, it's fine. I'm not that interested anymore, because I've certainly done that. So where is that cut-off point? When someone is setting up something, do you think there's like a certain amount of things that people can fill in until it gets too much? Like, how do you find that sweet spot?
This is definitely an art and a science, and I think one of the principles that we have when designing products is most of the companies that you have in high regards when it comes to design is to think about the 90% kind of use case or scenario, and then everything else kind of falls below a fold, and it is only shown to the user when it's really necessary. So whether that is when you're purchasing a subscription, or you think about, well, what things does the shopper need to consider to make that decision? Well, they probably need to understand the price. They probably need to understand the unit price. They probably need to understand how often they're going to get it. And so there's very few pieces of information that someone really needs in order to make decisions. And same thing comes for when managing a subscription. Of course, there's 20 different sets of actions, but can you turn them into the top 3 or 4 specific use cases that are data driven on our side, in the sense that we understand how customers kind of interact with these actions, whether it is swapping or pausing, and which ones are most important. And they differ sometimes from vertical to vertical. So food and beverage might have different kind of quick actions to, if you will, than will pet care, for example, or apparel. But those are all things that I think are just partly design principles, but also partly just looking at the data and seeing what's actually being used. And
yeah, I love that. Now, this is one to kind of finish off for both of you. What brand do you think has the best subscription? You might have different ones. You might have the same. Which brand has the best subscription in terms of implementation and maybe product, if it is a product that you use?
Yeah. This is so hard. It's like choosing children.
Very hard.
And I think it changes every month. One that is top of mind for me, just because it is it will be a staple for the rest of my life, is a company called Plant Paper. It is a toilet paper business, and they have such an incredible product. Truly, like, it's eco-friendly. It's like, great quality, looks good in the bathroom. So I think that's one of those products where I'm fully converted for rest of life away from like a Unilever or P&G product. So if folks haven't, checked out Plant Paper, everyone should. But I think what they do really well is, one, subscriptions is default, but it's really easy to be able to configure and understand, okay, how many roles do you need? Like, is this really like something that you want on subscription? How many people are in your family? Like, how many bathrooms do you have? And so there's a really awesome experience that guides you to figuring out if you should have a subscription, and then how many rolls of toilet paper you should be subscribing to. And then, one, they have incredible lifecycle comms. You always know 3 days before the order is going to renew, when the subscription's renewing. You can easily log in without a password, just put in your phone number, email, get a 6-digit code. And then it's very easy to swap to different roles, change the configuration, super, super intuitive experience. And they're really passionate as a business around not only making sure their product is incredible, but that their digital experience is an extension of their product. So one of our customers, and someone that, a team that are just like very, very cool.
Alex, what do you think?
Yeah, this is always very tough, but I think one of our recent case studies that we published was DO skincare. And, the way I look at what is actually good subscription implementation is by understanding how well it's done in the marketplace. And DO was a brand that was net new to subscriptions, started with subscriptions, and within a few weeks grew tremendously their subscription business. They ended up having a very large share of their revenue become recurring revenue, and I think that speaks volumes to the standardized implementation that they've had on one-time versus subscribe and save, and also speaks volume to how you can have the best tech or the best subscriptions product offering, but if the product itself is not in a good standing, then that in itself is only going to help you incrementally. But where the two meet together, which is I have an incredible product offering and then an experience that works really well from a subscriptions perspective, then, no surprise, it's going to be an incredible kind of business lever. And so I think that's the one piece that if I can leave anything in terms of a parting thought on this is, if Prive or other providers can help you not have to think about all the aspects of where the pixels go in your subscriptions offering, or what buttons or what colors, or how to think about what options to provide cadences, so that you can have all the time in the world to focus on your core product and the thing that you offer to your customers, whether it is, toilet paper or a skincare product, then that, or the brand itself, which is incredibly valuable, then that is I think the thing that makes me incredibly happy, because then we've solved something that only we can solve, and then you're solving something that only you can solve, which is building incredible products for your end customers.
And that brand is called, it's DIEUX skin.com. Yeah. I've also converted to using their moisturizer like for the rest of my life. So amazing. Big plug there.
Yeah, I think the best one is HelloFresh. It's a classic, but honestly, I have been using HelloFresh for like 2 years, and it changed my life. I hate grocery shopping. I hate the whole thing that goes with it. And this just makes my life so much simpler. That's a subscription which is worth it for me, is if it makes my life simpler, because I'll happily spend the money for that. I want more time, and if that means, paying for groceries that come in the mail, that's the best way to do it. Well, it's been a real pleasure, guys. Thank you so much for your time. I know it's really early for you, and I feel dreadful for bringing you up at 7 o'clock in the morning. But thank you so much. If people want to check out you guys personally or see the journey that you're on at Prive, where can people find you?
Twitter, at Claudia C. Laurie. And then our Prive Twitter is Prive HQ. And then, just like DM me, add me on LinkedIn. I'm around.
Love that.
And for
awesome.
you all.
Well, thank you for having us. Yes. Well, you can find me on Twitter, although I don't have much of a presence, at AIC Alex, and of course on TryPrive. And it's been great to chat, and looking forward to hearing more about use cases in the other side of the world, which is something that we've been spending a lot more time on.
Happy days. Lovely, guys. Thank you so much. Real pleasure.
Yeah, so nice. Thank you.
And that's it for this edition of the D2C Deep Dive. Thanks very much for listening and watching. If you haven't watched this, they're all available on YouTube for you, as well as some clips and shorts and all that other stuff that we create now. There's a lot of content on there, so go and check it out. You can follow us on Twitter at the D2C Deep Dive or myself at Sour Fraser. I appreciate you taking some time to listen, and I'll see you in the next one.